Hey.
I think we're almost here. I know at least five, six of us are here.
Just save Blake for the last intro.
Blake, just go ahead. Are you even here? Are you there? Can you hear us? Sounds like goddamn chipmunk.
You know, everything needs a running joke.
Yeah.
We got one now. This is good.
Yeah, like you just need to go back to your AirPods or something, man. It's not gonna
over 78 with the audio.
That's not working, man.
Oh man.
I mean, we did at least 5 minutes of sound check before we started. We're still here.
We told you those helium balloons, Blake. They're addictive. They're addictive.
I mean, this is just becoming expected at this point.
I mean,
I almost feel like he's trolling us a little bit.
Yeah,
it's all part of the experience now.
Is that any better?
It wouldn't be a roundtable unless we had to make fun of Blake's either internet.
No, it's no more chipmunk. Yeah, you got it now.
Wait, what?
Is
He
that
said
better?
something. Yeah.
Yeah, we can at least hear you.
That's okay.
Yeah, can you hear me?
We can at least hear you. I mean, you're delayed a little bit, but
Is it super delayed?
yeah, you're a little
or-
delayed, but it's okay.
Yeah.
I just won't look at you when you talk. I'll just listen.
I mean, Blake, are you downloading like heavy porn like every day or something? Like slowing your computer down?
I literally do it on every other platform, but for whatever reason,
StreamYard.
StreamYard. Is that any better?
Yeah, it's better.
It is.
And who downloads
100%
porn anymore? You
StreamYard.
stream all that stuff. Nobody downloads porn
Yeah,
anymore.
it's been so long.
You want to keep a record of that shit.
Oh man.
Oh boy, better move on quick.
Oh, you guys act like you don't have incognito tabs, like 40 of them open. Okay.
It's like watch.
All right.
Let's talk fungus. Let's go.
Straight from
We're
porn
gonna
to
get into
fungus.
Yeah.
Good transition.
Some funky fungus. All right. Well, cool. So I guess before we go, I know we had talked about our 3 topics, but then we've had a little sidebar. Do we want to add in the barrel tax, or do we want to wait?
I mean, I think it's a conversation that's very, very much discussed, and I think everybody who listens to the show will be impacted on it, whether they know it or not. So, I mean, it'd be kind of like ESPN discussing the Major League Baseball pitch clock before it happened. Before they decided on. I mean, I think that's kind of the equivalent.
All right. Well, I'll take the counter argument to Brian over here because Brian said that we should wait for some other
Counsel?
things. Yes, counsel.
Well, I think
Step
we're up again on the 27th. We're doing 2 this month, right?
I
think.
Yeah. Yes,
At least my calendar
because
says that.
yes, it is.
Mhm.
It's gonna be the 27th because the week after spring break, and
Ah,
everybody's gonna be gone.
yeah. I think we wait till that because there's apparently still things going on in subcommittees, and there's still a
Well,
bunch of
sure,
nonsense
but they
going
may be watching this podcast and make their finally informed decision.
on. Yeah, they tuned out when Blake couldn't talk, so we lost that audience.
They had it streaming through the subcommittee, and then my mic went out. And
Yeah, they're like, we can't wait on this anymore.
Yeah.
We got shit
I
to
do. I do
Get
want
it.
to talk
Sorry,
about
guys.
it, though. And
Sorry.
I think. I think it's probably a topic. It's a day when we just do 2 topics, and that's going to be.
Oh, I can.
Honestly,
talk
it
about
could be-
this
it could be a
I can talk about
singular
this for a whole
topic.
show.
Yeah.
It's probably a show in
the
and of
fact
itself.
the fact that you have one of the biggest oppositions is a Bourbon Hall of Famer and also the judge executive for Bullitt County. I mean, it's enormous. Yeah. But I like the history behind it too. That's one of the big pieces of my my book, one of my books, and I'm fascinated with this tax and how it's always been a thorn in the side of the distillers.
Okay, so I'm gonna vote and say we do talk about it, and that's because there's always gonna be new news that can come out, and whether we go back on this and we go, oh, we were right or we were wrong or anything like that, and I think we'll see how long. I think that we'll take that as its first topic, and I think we'll get rid of the fungus. Like, I don't know, it's like it's in the fucking news like every year. And it's just like, okay, people make us think about it, wait
But
2 and then
Just get a power
That
off.
seemed like it's popped
well,
up
that's
in
a
more
pressure
mainstream
washer,
stuff
Well,
this time.
here's what happened
Yeah.
with fungus. So fungus is always big in Kentucky news, but when it hit Jack Daniels, now it's national news. I mean, I've had people all over, like friends and family all over the nation, like, have you heard about this fungus before? Yeah, we have, but because it impacts Jack Daniels, now everyone's interested. Which,
Well, they used to go out and pressure wash the homes nearby, and they stopped doing that, and suddenly everyone's got issues. So
all right, so then we'll take branded or commemorative bottles off the table.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's a
Mhm.
lame topic.
It is a link. That's why it's
kidding.
that's why it's a third topic, just
That's why
like
it's the
in
third.
case,
Yeah, that's
in
we
case
got
we
4
have
minutes
time.
left. Yeah.
Yeah. So okay, so now we got 3 topics, and they're three big ones. I was like, so we got the ad valorem, Baudoinia, and the Acre wines, and just counterfeit. Do we want to just table counterfeit for another week or
sure,
another one?
and
Okay,
counterfeit will always be there.
Okay.
And always relevant.
got it. All right, so we're gonna do those. Do you want to do which one, Baudoinia or ad valorem first?
Start with the fungus. I think we'll wrap that one up pretty quick, and then the tax will talk longer. So do that second.
There you
All
go.
right, sounds good.
second, do we have a majority? Say aye.
All opposed.
Does Blake get a vote, or do we hear his vote?
Depends if his mic works.
He only
Blake
gets
Blake gets 2
I'm
votes
just gonna
because he'll
I'm gonna
sign
start
off and sign
talking
back
over.
on.
Yeah. I'm gonna start talking over everybody and act like my headphones don't work. And just keep your steamrolling the entire show. It's gonna be a monologue.
I like that. So while we were talking about the fake lands thing, I remember we talked about the saying that Justin's House at Bourbon, and I could have sworn that somebody said it was in the Netherlands, and then DJ said that there is a facility in Kentucky making fake lands, but he said now it's been removed from the website. So.
I remember in the Netherlands too. I don't remember reading anything about stateside.
Yeah, me neither.
Sounds like
I thought
some counter lawyers making some moves.
Sounds like it. Sounds like everybody making it up.
maybe.
Mhm.
All right, ready to go?
Let's do it.
Roll.
All right, fellas. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Bourbon Pursuit, the official podcast of Bourbon. And today is episode number 400 of Bourbon Pursuit. I'd say, I got to preface this because it is episode 400 that we've done for our Thursdays. But now that we've added in Whiskey Quickies and This Week in Bourbon, I think we're up to like 600 something. But for the actual podcast of our Thursdays that we originally set out to do and build, we're now at episode 400, but this is also Bourbon Community Roundtable number 78. So I'm very glad we could celebrate this milestone with all of our favorite people and our favorite guests to be able to talk about some new favorite subjects that we are kind of just trying to figure out before we started here of what hot takes and which ones we should get to. But we got everybody here today. So Fred and Ryan, hello, fellas.
Hey, happy
What is
400.
going on
Who
up
would have
in-
thought?
yeah.
Yes. We got our master distiller over here. We got our master author. So I'm just glad we got a few different things. I'm still waiting to figure out what my master title is going to be. And don't say it. Don't say it. I know what everybody's thinking. Don't say it.
Listen, no one's thinking that. You're the one educating us on porn like 15 minutes
Yeah.
ago.
Hey,
Master-
hold on. Hold on.
Master formula. I don't know.
Yeah. VLOOKUP. How about that?
VLOOKUP. Yep.
VLOOKUP.
Master auto sum.
And then, of course, we got everybody down here towards the bottom of the screen, but I'll let them quickly introduce ourselves and we'll jump into it. So, Blake, we'll start with you.
Yeah, always fun to be here. Glad it could be for number 400. You know, it's episode number 5. It's amazing how much it's grown since then. So, Blake from Sealbox and Bourboner, and thanks for having me.
So, Kenny, our audio has gotten better from episode 1 to 400. Blake's has gotten worse.
It's gotten.
I said nothing but nice things about you guys, and now I'm going to troll the comment section the rest of the episode.
I mean, at some point, I think there was before we started, Jordan was saying we just all need to have a meeting down in Jacksonville just to do a troubleshooting session because Blake has bought a new computer. I've shipped him 2 microphones, and we still got issues. So at some point, we got to figure out what's going on.
I blame
And he
StreamYard.
did say, yeah, he's always saying it's StreamYard, but I remember having some other issues with the other one. What was the other one we used to use?
Who can remember back that long ago? I mean, I don't
There's a
remember
common
that.
denominator with all the platforms.
That's how it goes. And Brian.
Yeah, thanks for having me on number 78 and 400. So happy to be here, Brian, with Sipping Corn, Bourbon Justice on the Wall. This will be a fun one. I'm excited to talk about this. It's punitive, but it's riling people up. So I think we can get some good hot takes and get everybody riled up.
Oh, we're putting the cart before the horse. We'll get to the people. I think we're going to be itching and dying to be able to talk about some of these ones because they're good topics. I haven't actually been really excited for some topics up until this one because these are very topical. They are topical topics, but they also they hit on a lot of good little juicy tidbits too. So, Jordan, wrap us up here real quick.
Hey, thanks for having us, fellas. Part of the Breaking Bourbon team. This is Jordan. Always happy to be part of this group. Can't believe we're on number 78 already. Should be a good show.
Yep. Maybe by 100, we'll have good audio between all.
That's a big
by
ask.
6 of the 6 of us. We'll get
That's
there.
a
Though.
big ask.
It is. So the first topic that we're going to talk about is something that it was funny. A few weeks ago, it wasn't even a few weeks ago. It had been a week or two ago. You started seeing all this news starting popping up about whether it's New York Times or whether it's Insider or whether whomever it is, and all of a sudden I think a lot of us start getting hit up by people and they're like, oh my God, you see this news story? You see this news story? And it's talking about the all the things that are happening at Jack Daniels, where they had to kind of stop putting construction because of some lawsuits that are happening. And this is all done because of the black fungus known as Baudoinia compniacensis. I hope I said that right. Or if not, it sounds like I ordered a tapa off of a restaurant. But I'll talk about the news story here in a second. But the reason that I didn't really talk about this on This Week in Bourbon was because I feel like we talk about it every single year. This is a news story that continually comes out. So here we go. So the most recent story is of Jack Daniels and their warehouse expansion has overtaken the news feed. So Christi Long, she's of Lincoln County, Tennessee, and she believes the ethanol emissions from the distillery's barrel warehouses have harmed her business with the black fungus known as Baudoinia. I'm not going to try the next word there. But this isn't a new story. Over the years, residents in Nelson County and Bardstown have complained about this. And you can see it when you're driving towards the distilleries. And every distillery has gone out and said that it's not harmful. It's a natural compound. So a few questions started rising when I started thinking about this. So I want to kind of put it to you all, is that now that we've seen this start hitting more national headlines, I think it's starting to hit, it's been around every single year, but now it's starting to hit some national headlines. What can distilleries do to make sure this argument and this bad PR doesn't happen again next year? Is there anything that can be done?
Yeah, so I'll kick it off. I think really taking a step back, why it's making national news now too is not only is it Jack Daniels, but the media being the media. You have The Last of Us, which is this hit show on HBO talking about a killer fungus. All of a sudden, you have a fungus problem around whiskey distilleries. It's like, hey, let's bring this up, right? It'll get people talking, which it certainly has.
Oh, hold on. What show are you talking about?
So this is The Last of Us on HBO, which is the remake of the huge PlayStation video game, right? Killer fungus.
Sure my wife knows all about it. I missed that one.
There you go, right? It ties together. But I think reading the New York Times article and a few other articles, I think the viewpoint distilleries have that it's harmless is probably not rubbing people the right way, right? You have a lot of people who are working class people living nearby. They have this black fungus. There are solutions. You can put air filters on rick houses to try and, air filter out some of the air. Jack Daniels will come out and said, we don't want to do that. We think it'll impact the quality of our whiskey, even though there's really no data behind that whatsoever. So you instantly have a we versus them mentality. However, the we versus them is a David versus Goliath, right? So naturally, you have this national brand, this global brand, right, making money hand over fist. Then you have these people who are just working class people nearby, just getting pummeled by this black fungus, and it's heartbreaking seeing what they're going through, and you really feel for them. So we realize it's happened in Kentucky for a long time now, right? And it comes up in the local news around Kentucky and Louisville, Lexington, Bardstown, etc. This is the first time it's really reached national levels because of Jack Daniels, and this David versus Goliath mentality. Like I mentioned, it's probably not going well because I've had a lot of people reach out from around the country, ask me about it, and they're really just siding with these quote unquote, those poor folks who live by, and when I say poor, I don't mean literally financially, but those poor folks living by the distillery who are having to put up with this fungus that's awful. And I think it's just really pulling at the right heartstrings at the right moment to really hopefully sway some change and see what comes about it.
To be fair to those poor folks, there would be absolutely, if you all been to Lynchburg, there'd be absolutely nothing without that damn distillery.
Absolutely not.
So let's put that in perspective. These people aren't the distillery is their only lifeline of economic output. So we got to put that in perspective for folks, that they're not just, just these I don't know. That storyline's kind of.
I think it's analogous to like a college university where that city wouldn't exist unless the college was there,
right? But that's also saying like, well, you live next to a nuclear power plant, and all of a sudden they have some leak going on. Well, those people wouldn't have a job if they weren't, if there wasn't a nuclear power plant. That's like not really an excuse to just say,
a nuclear power plant leak would pretty much give you cancer. Right. And
but I'm just because you're a business doesn't mean you can't impact the folks around you. Like you can provide prosperity, but you also can't impact their daily lives. Sure. Like there's a big difference between that.
So
what I'm hearing is Jordan say, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, this is all. There's a couple facets here. One, the distillers used to go out to these people's homes, and I don't know if specifically to these people in Lynchburg, but they used to go out into people's homes and power wash. When they stopped doing that, that's when the lawsuits started. And I'm talking about in France. I'm talking about in Kentucky, all over the place. The distillers do a very poor job of educating people about the truth of anything, whether it's the real history of their distillers or how their stuff is made. If they just educated the public, if they did a better job educating the public and working with the public to make sure that these things could get prevented, even saying like, hey, you know what? This is an issue that comes up when you live near a distillery. Here's a stipend of $200 a year to get something from Lowe's. And when you're throwing a music concert, you have to have meetings with all of the area neighborhood associations about how loud the music is going to be. And when people move out to these areas, and this is endemic of our country, this is not isolated to distilling. They move out into western Wisconsin, and they start complaining about the smell at the dairy farms and place zoning regulations on dairy farms that have been there for 100 years. The major issue that we have here as citizens of the United States is people move somewhere and then they complain about something that, like Ryan says, is true economic output to that respective area. And while I do think that I think that this, to me, is all preventable. This is all preventable by the distillers, whether or not they want to do it, contain it inside the warehouse, or whether they want to help the residents of the areas. They can prevent this. I'm 100%. But at the same time, my gosh, this isn't like anything catastrophic. This isn't anywhere near catastrophic. And this has been going on for over a century, and people have been dealing with it for a long time. It's just all it is a power wash. Why can't the distillers pay for that? That's it.
I guess, yeah, that's the frustrating thing as far as like being a resident of Bardstown. We just kind of dealt with this our whole, that's just part of it. It's just part of being around this industry. But, it is harmless. I mean, people can believe that or not. I mean, it just makes the trees look very strange. And then the
like out of Sleepy Hollow or something.
The thing
like
that I can't wrap my head around is like, Barton and all them and Willett changed all their, sidings to black, but Heaven Hill is still building white warehouses right next. I'm like, what the hell are you all doing? Like, what's, your power washing bill is just going, but yeah, it's just something that's been dealt with. And people, it gets brought up every year, what can they be done, this and that. And I think the conclusion's been bourbon's so important to the community that it's just going to be part of it, and it's just, you have to know. Now there is, some, if you're in a neighborhood and they're wanting to build a new warehouse and stuff, you have to get, zoning and approval from the residents, if you're so close to, a new warehouse being built. But, so now residents know, if you're an established home and that they have an input that whether those rick houses can be built there or whatnot, which is good. But I think it's just as a community, it's just one of those things you have to like take the good with the bad. It just is what it is. To me, this is just like whistleblowing and kind of like making something out of nothing and getting people riled up about there's bigger problems that people need to focus on than this damn soot.
Well, I mean, I see this because somebody else just kind of posted on here, Mr. Great Shot, saying that why don't the homeowners get off their butt? And to kind of counterpoint what Fred had said is like, why is it this the homeowner's responsibility? Because I mean, I would imagine, is land cheaper when you're there because of said problem? The same exact reason why you move to somewhere. It's like you're not in a very, I'm not going to say that you're not in a very populous point. I'm just saying that that's the reason why land is cheap. And so therefore you get cheap land, and that's the consequence you deal with. So there's definitely a counter argument to that as well. Brian, I saw you want to step in there.
That's where the lawyer comes in and sues, right, Brian?
Well, and that's actually the point I'm going to make. When these lawsuits started in the early 2010s in Louisville and Bardstown, there were these negligence claims, and some of the biggest attorneys in the state were coming in trying to file class actions, and it all went to bed, which tells me that there's nothing there. I mean, when the guys who come in and want all these class actions and want all the press start leaving, it tells me they're losing. And they were losing the negligence claims left and right. Basically, is there a duty to take these steps to keep this off of other people's property? And there's not, for the same reasons you guys are all mentioning right now. It's out in the country. That's where these people are moving into. What do you expect when you live next to a dairy farm, or as someone said, you live next to a paper mill? It stinks, and there are, despite whatever measures are taken to stop a paper mill from stinking, it's going to stink.
I mean,
all the people in Butchertown, they have cried about how bad it smells, and I'm not downplaying that, because it is an awful smell if you are driving through Butchertown at the wrong time of day on the wrong day of the week.
But it's Butchertown. You moved to Butchertown.
But it's Butchertown. Guess what? It's called Butchertown, right? So they're not winning these lawsuits. This one, I think, is getting more press because of who it is. It's not just Kentucky, but the big names were in Kentucky. Brown-Forman was a defendant. Diageo was a defendant. So you were getting the big names, but somehow you weren't getting the press. And that's the difference here. And that can be a huge difference in a lawsuit, and why attorneys take it and why they push it, if they can get that press. So I'm not impressed with it, but we're going to keep seeing it time and time again.
But the one thing about this particular story is that the lady said she's losing business because of it, and she said she's going to sue over it. Do you think there's any merit to there, or do you think it's just going to be like, good luck?
I don't know I don't know about her facts, so I don't know what's going to happen to her, but I don't give her a whole lot of chance, unless there's just, like someone else has said, corporations get sued and then they settle. That might be what she's going after. I don't know. I don't know anything about her facts.
Brian, I feel like Tennessee's laws are a little bit more mature in personal liability or company to person liability, because of some of the festivals I've been a part of there and helped out. Is there anything there that there in Tennessee there could be a stronger case because the law is a little bit more mature?
There might be. I don't know Tennessee law at all. I know a lot of the Kentucky cases were in federal court and they were going under federal law, which is going to be the same. Your negligence is going to be could vary from state to state on what the duties are and those sorts of things. But a lot of these are being filed under federal law.
Yeah, I'm really mad that my neighborhood planted all these damn pin oaks, 70 years ago to become a tree city, because now I got these damn oak leaves and these damn whirlybirds all around, and it really just pisses me off. I should sue them. It's
They've
like, give me
created
a
a
break.
nuisance.
It's like you could complain about being in any situation, and there's consequences with that. It's like, I knew coming in, I have a huge pin oak that they planted of all of my neighbors and everything. It's like, okay, you know what you're getting into. I don't know. I digress.
Ryan, if you expand the old business to power washing, I think that might be your key.
If I do any more businesses, I'll get divorced. I'm kidding, but yeah, no more businesses. Then we'll be having that legal discussion on here, not about a soot.
I was going to say, I think what's interesting about this one is just the mainstream media attention that it's picked up. Like, I think we talked before, we've seen this one, but we haven't really seen it in like the New York Times and weather.com. And maybe it's just because it's Jack Daniels or something else. And maybe it's just she hired a good PR firm, but kind of to everybody else's point, you would think by now, if there truly was a health risk or something else, that would have gone to court. So I guess that's why the angle is it's affecting her business. And, if I'm Jack Daniels, I'd probably say, well, you wouldn't have as many customers coming to your business if it wasn't for us being here anyways. So, I wish we could make a contrary argument here, but it just kind of seems like one that it's probably getting a fund going for the black fungus, maybe the best route at this point.
Yeah.
So I would say
before
that
we go, Fred, I just want to give a shout out to Logan right here because everybody that's listening to the podcast, they can't see what's on the screen, but Logan donated $5 as a contribution to the Black Fungus Victim Compensation Fund. So
hey,
that was hilarious.
do you or a loved one live near black fungus?
You may be entitled to compensation.
Contact Logan at Bourbon Pursuit. Anyway, so Brown Foreman has faced a dog toy lawsuit that's gone all the way to the Supreme Court. We're waiting on details for that, right, Brian?
Had to unmute there. It's actually set for hearing in 3 weeks. I was half going to try to get to DC to listen to the hearing, but I don't think I'm going to be able to make it. But
Let's make a trip, Brian. Come
fascinating.
on.
That's a
Fascinating
commitment there
case.
for
Yeah,
the dog
it's a
toy
big case,
hearing.
right? Just in terms of the impact it'll have outside of just whiskey and everything else.
Massive case, and it starts with whiskey. But yeah, great case. We should talk about that maybe in one of these shows. But go ahead, Fred.
I was going to say, so their lawyers are pretty busy right now. They've got the Supreme Court and whiskey fungus and Lord knows what else. I mean, whew, their billable hours are looking good.
But they're on staff already, so that's fine.
I don't know. They probably have like 5 firms working for them.
That's probably true too. That's what you do. Well, I think we've kind of beat the fungus to death. I don't know if that's fine. But I mean, is there anything else you guys want to bring up about the fungus? This has been a good argument because I know that we've seen this time and time again. That's why I was very hesitant even putting this on This Week in Bourbon, because it's like every year this gets brought up by some community and something like that. And it's just it's a cyclical thing. And it's in the news, it's out of the news. And I'm sure we're part of the problem right now because we're helping the weather.coms and everybody else right now that did put it out there, and we're now talking about it. But you know how this news train article and thing goes. In 2 weeks, nobody's going to care about it, and it's going to be off to the next thing.
To be honest, I had to look it up because I thought maybe there was a new fungus strand coming out but nope, it's the same.
Like another
shit.
COVID strain.
Yeah, I'm like, we're talking about this again, but no, that's funny. I thought maybe there was a new bourbon fungus.
It's the Omicron variant of the
That's
whiskey
right.
fungus.
Unfortunately, it's just the same old thing been around.
Milder coverage on trees, but a lot more.
But
spread.
everybody gets it.
Yeah, but every tree gets it.
Well, all right. Well, that'll kick it off into the second half here, and I think this is the one that a lot of us were looking forward to, just because we have some varying viewpoints as we get into this. I don't have all the details, so I'm going to defer to somebody else, to maybe Fred, to be able to talk about this for a minute too. But there's been a new, I guess you could say, bill that's been put up. I think it's House Bill 5, I think is what it is, in front of everybody. And this is for voting, but it's going to be looking at the ad valorem tax, or the barrel aging tax. So one of the things that's very unique about Kentucky, and it's unique in either a good or a bad way, which we'll get to, is that we're the only state. When I say we, it's because Ryan and I, Brian as well, Fred, we all actually live in Kentucky. So this is the only state that actually taxes aging barrels. So the other, all the states out there, they don't charge taxes on them. So what goes to it? A lot of those taxes goes towards schools. They goes towards infrastructure. They go towards a lot of things that just go for those cities that house a lot of the aging rick houses. So you're talking about Nelson County, you're talking about Shelbyville County. They're talking about all the counties that are sitting there holding a ton of barrels. So what House Bill 5 is going to be able to do, and what the KDA is offering and putting in front of people. And by the way, I also want to preface this in saying that I was messaged earlier in saying that the KDA does have some data points about this. They want to make sure that there's not a lot of false information that is being spread. So there is some information that you can find on their website about some data points that you can find from them. But as we get through this, they are advocating to get rid of the ad valorem tax. And there's a lot of good reasons that they're pushing towards. And that is because they want to see Kentucky distilleries thrive. They don't want them to be continually taxed on even more things. We've also heard the counter argument that, well, we have seen how good bourbon has done. That's a cash cow. Why sit there and worry about a few extra more pennies? So I'll go ahead and open it up from there. I think that's a very terrible way to open it, but whoever wants to kind of take the first stab at either a pro or a for or against, Ryan, I think you're unmuted first. I think you should go first, because we have talked about this on This Week in Bourbon before, and you've got a very, I would say, a hard political stance, but you definitely draw a line in the sand of where you see this as well.
Oh boy. Okay. Get me in trouble first. All right. Yeah, I don't know that necessarily this tax needs to go away completely, but there definitely needs to be a cap on it because we don't want to take money away from schools and all the things that benefit from this tax. My counter argument is there's way, if you are going to get rid of it, there's a ton of ways you can replace this tax that wouldn't be punitive to one of the industries that funds a lot of money, not just with that ad valorem tax, but taxes in general. This is our biggest pretty much export, brings a lot of tourism dollars here, and many states are, Texas has way more distilleries than Kentucky does. You've seen companies like Sazerac made decisions to put distilleries in Tennessee and Indiana, for this very reason. So it's like, how many more jobs are we losing because of this tax? And so I think a fair compromise, and I don't know, would be a cap on it, because when this was initiated, it was based on, how much barrels you had in inventory, but nobody could have ever anticipated the amount of production and how many barrels would be in inventory when this was made. And so the states and cities, or the counties that are getting this, I mean, in Bardstown, there should be golden sidewalks, and schools should be Taj Mahals. But in reality, Bardstown can't even, okay, if you're going to say this tax is going towards the counties, this and that, Bardstown can't even support the growth of the distilleries in its own damn county. And it's like, well, where is all this freaking money going? And why can't it be used to help expand this industry? So if I'm a distillery, it's like, you're not even doing anything to help me grow my business here in this county. Why the hell should we be paying more taxes for this? And so that's kind of my stance on it. It's like, there's got to be a balance of it's just gotten excessive. I don't know that the money is being utilized the way that it should be. This is just I don't have data or anything that says it's being wasted or whatever, but it's very concerning to me when you have this ad valorem tax and the distilleries have more in inventory and they've paid more taxes than ever. And you can't even the city can't even you can't even provide infrastructure for the distilleries to expand. That's where I'm kind of frustrated with all this.
Well, there's definitely a lot to unload there. Blake, you go ahead and take it. I'll chime back in after I kind of comment on the Bardstown thing. Bardstown, I think if we could treat that as a separate issue, as their leadership isn't quite there. The $40 million that this ad valorem tax has been, how much came out last year. That was earmarked for infrastructure, schools. I mean, I don't know the Bardstown school system, but those buildings look pretty nice. I feel like that the money is being put to good. The money's being used properly there. If the schools look good, I've driven through Bardstown a lot.
Schools are great. Don't get me wrong.
So
I'm talking about
that's what this tax is for.
But sure, it's for infrastructure as well. It's like how many damn Bardstown city schools have built 4 new campuses in the past 10 years? And it's like, do we really need more Bardstown city school campuses? It's like, it's just like, can't this be spent on infrastructure, to support the growth of these distilleries? I'm not saying I think it's just gotten out excessive and out of hand. It's like,
but I would go ahead about the infrastructure there. The roads in Bardstown are, I would say, way better than in Louisville. I can't go 30 yards without hitting a pothole in this town.
Well, it's not even the roads; it's the water, the electricity, all the things that people need to expand distilleries are not available and haven't been planned for. They'll say, well, we couldn't plan for this. And it's like, well, you've been getting money for 10, 20 years. Why didn't you invest in infrastructure 10, 20 years ago? And mostly with water and sewage and electricity to provide growth for these distilleries. And that's why they're going to Lebanon and, surrounding counties, because the counties there are like, well, hell yeah, come here. We won't, we'll either give you the land or we'll provide the infrastructure for you. That's the things I see, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a Bardstown leadership issue. It sounds like.
So real
Yeah,
quick, because just sorry, Blake, and then I'll let you go here. So there was somebody in the chat that said, "How much did Pursuit pay an ad valorem tax last year?" So I was just looking it up. I think we had maybe last year was a little less than 1,000 barrels. I would say maybe it was 700, 800 barrels that were resting in Kentucky. And so I'm looking at my tax bill. So it's $1,216.68. So in the grand scheme of things, not a lot for what we're paying, but that's $1,200 that could have gone towards something that we could have invested back in the company.
Yeah, and that's where I think
Heaven Hill
it's
that's
a
got hundreds of thousands.
Oh yeah. Like I said, that's 800 barrels ish, maybe even less. And so you take that to somebody that's definitely not our size. You take a Jim Beam or Heaven Hill, and you multiply that, and you're looking at the millions of dollars.
Yeah, that's where it gets tricky, because it's not like it's not like it's Ford Motor Company there and they'll just say, hey, we'll go build a new factory in South Carolina or wherever it may be. Like Heaven Hill just can't come and say, well, if you don't switch some of these taxes, we're going to Tennessee. Like Kentucky still holds a lot of value being Kentucky bourbon, but it also has brought so much to the state, or at least bourbon has, in the way of tourism and everything else. So it's really just a tough one in general. I just would go for lower tax no matter what. But I think, the distillers are kind of up against a hard one here, because it's like when you say it's for schools and all these other things, and I feel like that's a tough one to pull away. That money's got to get made up somewhere. In the grand scheme of the Kentucky budget, 40 million is probably just not that much, but that's still a big number when you look at where it's going. And it's like, all right, well, if 28 million went to schools, where's that going to be made up at? I don't want to see anybody pay more taxes, but it seems like that's at least a fair use. But that may be the only pro-tax stand I ever have in a very small, limited capacity.
Here's how you make it up. Stop letting people go across the river to gamble in Indiana. Literally,
or maybe legalize weed
and marijuana. I have friends that will drive across the bridge, make a bet, and then drive across to Kentucky. It's like, how freaking
that's just too many vices. It's too many,
and it's going to be the same thing here.
One state.
Yeah, it'd be nice, and I'll be the first to say I'm not one for taxes by no means, any which way. But it'd be nice to see a compromise of more of a tax shift. What I'm truly not about is stifling innovation for small businesses, right? And Kenny, you talked about your tax bill, and it's minor, but you know what? It also, like you mentioned, that's $1,200 you can invest in someplace else. And when any small business is starting up, and even any medium-sized business, however you want to define it, every single dollar is precious in what you do with your company, your organization. And to have that in the now and to be able to reinvest it right then and now pay taxes is crucial, right? So it'd be nice to see more of a tax shift. Maybe when the final product, you can, maybe it's for every year the whiskey spent in the barrel, you'll be taxed just as equivalently as if you would have on a yearly basis. Either way, you would have shifted it. You would have had capital to play with the entire time. It would have been really nice. I'm more about seeing small businesses being able to thrive. I realize this impacts more of a large whiskey distillery, et cetera, in terms of the tax bill. And of course, where the funds go to schools and stuff like that. But, companies the size of Pursuit Spirits, et cetera, more competition is always good. It creates innovation. Having money to play with in the here and now is super important. So in that aspect, I think it's good that it's going away for small businesses. I'd love to see some sort of compromise or a shift in what ends up playing out. I think there's a way of making this work for everyone, but I do appreciate when small businesses have the funds available and the capital and cash flow to do things here and now.
To be very clear about this pursuit of a repeal of this, and I do think that a lot of groups have gotten together and attacked the bourbon industry in a very negative way, and I think an unfair and untruthful way. Their proposal is to phase this starting in 2026 and conclude it in 2039. So it's not like they're pulling the rug out from underneath with this tax. It's not like $40 million is going to instantly disappear. But I just want to bring up some of the people that are against this. Obviously, The educators have come out opposed to it. The firefighters have come out against it. Pretty much every public works group has come out against it. And to me, one of the biggest names from the bourbon industry is a Bourbon Hall of Famer named Jerry Summers, who basically built a lot of the tourism stuff for Beam. Jerry Summers is the judge executive for Bullitt County, and the judge executive
weird.
is like
Wonder why
like
he's
a
against it.
county commissioner. I mean, so
You're trying to say that's helping his. That's trying to help
he
his citizens
helps-
and stuff like
he
that.
gets
There you go.
them votes would like that tax. And so the amount of people that have kind of come together, they all say we love Kentucky bourbon, but we need this tax, and say like, we won't be able to proceed. I mean, the arguments they're making is like, fire trucks won't be running, teachers won't show up to work. I mean, it's just like any other kind of political fight. And then on the other side, the bourbon distillers are saying like they're going to leave Kentucky. That ain't going to happen. Kind of like Blake was saying, like the value is too strong to have Kentucky on your label. I mean, you're welcome to move your distillery and operations to Ohio or
but these companies, Fred, don't just have bourbon. They have a wide portfolio of products.
Okay, but
so like brandy. So brandy,
we're not
barrels,
talking.
Where they're going to store them? They're going to store them in another state. When they're going to make Fireball,
they're already doing
Fireball
that
in another state. Yeah, but
they're
that's
already
the thing.
doing
They
that.
did that because of the tax here. That's warehouses being built. That's jobs here. That's stuff that is gone because of the tax. Companies are smart. They won't do it with bourbon. They will keep it here, obviously. But they're big corporations and they have their portfolios are diverse, and they're putting their other products in other states where their tax revenue there is no taxing. And that's
guys, they don't even need to stop it at bourbon, Ryan. I mean, I agree with you 100%. Everybody think back to what it takes to put Kentucky on the label.
It's only 1 year and a day.
How long does it have to get stored here?
1 year and a day.
So Sazerac mysteriously buys a shit ton of property in southern Indiana. Gee, so they distill, and then Franklin County screws them. So they start putting warehouses in southern Indiana, distill it here, store it for a year, and then move it to Indiana. You better believe it. They're going to do that. Absolutely 100%. And they still sell Kentucky
But
bourbon.
historically, they've made this threat before, and it's never happened in a large wave. They have some properties in Indiana, Ohio, something in Tennessee, but they, for the most part, they stay in Kentucky. And something like Christian Brothers, which is, Heaven Hills brandy. I mean, there's never been a plan for having it entirely here. It's in California. It's in it. So I don't think, I think that threat is not the most effective way to promote your cause. I would say that, this came on the books when in the 1930s, when the distillers endorsed a governor that was running an opponent that was running against Happy Chandler. Happy Chandler won it, had a bone to pick with the distillers, and issued a tax. He basically issued a tax on distillers. It was a nickel a gallon or something like that. And then he went on to be the Major League Baseball commissioner, came back and to become governor again after being Major League Baseball commissioner, and was still pissed.
Him a dime, then didn't they?
He was still pissed. He was still pissed at the distillers, and he taxed them again.
Really?
He doubled it. He literally doubled the tax. So yeah,
I was just guessing right there. How about
it? He literally doubled the tax. And the distillers have hated this tax. And every single time they have, done anything politically, they've always said, "Don't get another Happy Chandler." Happy Chandler was like that. This, in all the power that the distillers have today, and everything that they have done for this state, this is their only time that they can repeal this. They have been working up for this since 2009. Everything that they have done since 2009, when they basically fought the sales tax at the wholesale level, they have been trying to, one way or another, get this thing taken back. And they've been talking about, like, people going across the state for a long time. And this is a it is a very damaging tax. No doubt about it. It's a damaging tax, but it's been on there for so long and everybody's kind of used to it. What's one of the big differences today is that they are getting a lot of pressure from the unions to get more money for their workers. And they are, there's not a, when they go to look at their books, they're going to start cutting into bone if they have another strike, or the fat bonuses that go to the executives.
Well, that's a really, so that brings up a good segue into what I was going to say, Fred. So, we might wax poetically about bourbon and think about it romantically and everything else. But going back to Ryan and Brian's point, at the end of the day, these are, mega corporations, publicly traded companies. This is a dollars and cents and spreadsheet issue, right? So yeah, if it makes sense and they can figure out, we can save money and we can move stuff around. Yeah. Our threats in the past were false. No, we're going to start moving stuff across the river or find other ways to do things. At the end of the day, bourbon's a business, right? It's a straight up business and they're looking at profit and losses. And we can think about all the tourism it brings to Kentucky. This is a business and these are companies that have shareholders to report to. And that's what matters most to them, not where it's being stored, not what public perception is of them. They're going to continue doing well. So, the state needs to think long and hard about their needs, but also remember that these are businesses. And at the end of the day, they're cold-hearted, right? It's what do we do to bring value to our shareholders? That's their job. And that's why they exist now. And that's a very real thing to keep in the forefront of everyone's mind.
I'm going to ask a dumb question. And maybe it's because I haven't asked it in a long time. I mean, is bourbon Kentucky's biggest export? I know at one time it was tobacco. I'm sure it's not anymore. Is bourbon Kentucky's biggest export?
I mean, I can't think of any bigger one.
Got to be, right?
Do you mean export like to other countries or outside of Kentucky?
Outside of the state?
All right,
so it has to be.
Right? It's just
has to be.
Yeah.
Okay.
Probably.
Okay.
Let me go to the Google.
You go to the Google. The whole thing. I'm sitting here trying to reel this in a little bit and take this in is because I look at this and I go right back to the conversation we had about the baudoinia and the black fungus. Is that, well, this wouldn't exist. People wouldn't be coming here. They wouldn't be paying the hotel tax. They wouldn't be paying all this tourism. They wouldn't be doing all this if it wasn't for the distilleries already. So why would you continue to tax the biggest thing that's bringing the most money in economic development into the state? And I think that's probably the biggest thing that I look at. It's like, okay, it's $40 million. Like, yeah, we paid 1,200 of it. I know it's pennies on it, whatever it is. But I mean, that's something that, like, why should we get taxed just because we live here and we're storing barrels here? I get that. But, this is one thing that you look at, at what's bringing into the state, what it's doing for tourism, what it's doing for the economic development of all the surrounding counties. I mean, that has to speak volumes.
Well, and you're leaving out the 11.5% tax that we have to pay.
Yes,
when we
wholesale,
the wholesale tax when you have to bottle it and sell it, and so you're getting tax. So Kentucky, people don't know, they have probably the highest wholesale tax in the whole country, and so to sell bottles here, you get taxed on that as well. So it's like you get taxed on it aging, taxing when it's selling. And let me be clear, I do not want to take any money away from schools and whatnot, and I don't think they should abolish this tax 100%. There needs to be some renegotiations and a cap put on it because the amount of barrels that are sitting in inventory are astronomically more than ever. And it's not, it's, if there were, I don't know, it's just, it just needs to be like reevaluated. I think that's all I think, it's, I mean, yes, there's so many more things our state is, I don't know, it's screwed up. It's like any politics, but ours is even worse here because the people in power in areas that have no clue what are going on in other parts of the state, and they're trying to appeal to their constituents, in rural areas, and it's very disconnected kind of situation between the people in power in this state, and I'm going to get myself in trouble, but we're taxing the thing. It's like we're going to tax Kentucky basketball and Louisville basketball next. I think someone else has said that. It's like we're going to tax the things that make the state great. I don't know.
It's politicians literally this time drunk on the money. I mean, they can't get away from it, and with this long period of winding this to a lower tax, it gives them an opportunity. We're not going to have a stoppage of fire protection tomorrow. We're not going to, the schools aren't going to all get raised tomorrow. I mean, it's just nonsense.
And Brian, I think that's the part that is really getting missed in this entire conversation. It's being phased out. I'm kind of with Ryan. Like, I don't want to see it go away entirely. I want us to do something with the schools, with the education system. But I think what happened was what really has happened, and I was trying to say it earlier, is that everybody got used to this tax because it's been on there since the 30s, and the distillers accepted it, and everyone always thought it was just going to be there. And places that maybe should not have been getting the funds because they misappropriate them or whatever, they just depended on it. And so now that they see this as possibly being taken away and being put to use for the businesses, that is that's scary to them. And when you tell, I was in, when I was in the military, you told me my unit was going to lose a Humvee. We did everything we could to fight for that Humvee because it was scary as shit to lose a Humvee out of a small unit. And I think that's how government workers think, is like they don't know where it's going to come from. They're just trying to save what they have and what they have known. And it will come from something else. And we said it at the top. There's so many things that we could do to improve taxation, for gambling, for marijuana, which is legal everywhere else, or heck, even increase like hotel rates, hotel tax. There's so many things. By the way, automotive industry seems to be the number one export. Toyota and Ford, huge.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so here I got one more point. I can't get off of this. Sorry. So Bardstown has grown 1% annually over the last 20 years, yet we've built 3 new school campuses on there. Who's benefiting from that? Why do we need that much school? Why do we need new schools for a population that's only growing 1% a year on a population that's 13,000? Okay,
it's like
who's
the kids
benefiting
don't learn
from
anything
that?
there
What
anyway.
contract?
Yeah,
the contractors. That's right. You just said it, Ryan. The contractors.
This sounds like
so maybe they don't get new iPads every 6 months. They get them every 2 years. It's like, I don't know.
I tell you, Cecil for mail.
It's just
Cecil for mayor.
I don't know. It's crazy.
Yeah, I'm voting for Ryan in the next election. I'm writing you in.
It sounds like a stump
man.
speech. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do they close school every week?
Because it's a little windy.
Actually, I will give them credit. Nelson County was one of the only counties that did not cancel school Friday. So
good for them.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't know.
I can't wait till this airs on Friday. I'm going to get a bunch of calls and emails. All my people in city council at Bardstown telling me how wrong I am.
We'll cut out all the bad stuff. Don't you worry about it.
Yeah.
They're watching it live, Ryan.
Yeah, good one.
But I think that
them and the senators.
Yeah, I think we hit on a lot of good stuff here, and I still think there's some other things that we can touch on. And before we sign off here, I think that Brian, give us an update, because you did say that there's some other new things that will be coming out here over the next few weeks, because you did say that they're still going to be talking about this in hearings and so on and so forth.
Yeah, so there's still revisions to it. I mean, it's not final. I mean, the way these work is you're bobbing and weaving and making revisions and trying to make concessions here and there. So who knows what it comes out like? Who knows if the time frame gets lengthened more, or when it does start going down, does it go down less sharply than it is? So there's a lot of room. I bet we'll have a lot of updates by the 27th, and maybe we can talk about just kind of as an update then. I think we've hit all the main points now, but we'll be able to do some updates on the 27th.
I think this will be, and this is an interesting, from our perspective, Brian, as historians, that we've both been writing about it, the history of this for a long time. This is one of those moments that historians will write about bourbon in 100 years, like I did with Happy Chandler and his hatred for the distilling industry. I think this is a line in the sand for Kentucky bourbon distillers. I don't believe that they will actually pack up and move their facilities. You all seem to be a little bit more, thinking they will. I think that's a bluff. But if they indeed do that, I mean, that's something that the lawmakers are going to have to consider, because that vote will be on their hands. And if you are the senator that had the vote for making sure that Kentucky bourbon didn't get its phased out tax, of the barrel tax, to be able to invest in their own people, and maybe they should maybe the distillers should do a better job of saying, like, we're going to give the people at these distilleries raises. I don't know. They say they're going to invest back, but they're always very vague, and they're having a strike every other year. I think if they came out and said, we're going to give it to the workers, going to give all this money to the workers, I think a lot of the opposition would go away, and you'd have your workers, out there talking about it. But they're not going to do that, because where will that extra money go? I mean, who knows? Who knows what'll happen? Maybe it's going to go to a Brown Foreman lawyer, Brian. I don't know. But
we need new Air Jordans, so that's what it would go towards.
That's right.
No, I think there's going to be a lot of good arguments for and against. I know that I don't think that we're not calling a bluff and saying that it's going to move anywhere else. I think it's still going to be there. I think it's going to be, it's not to say I think it's a move for the distillers to say, this is a benefit that we're going to give you. Like, thank you for doing so much for the industry. Thank you for bringing so much to the tourism. Thank you for pouring hundreds of millions of dollars every single year into our city. We'll give you this tax break because we see the value of what's happening. Because I think there's a larger picture to paint, rather than just what are we going to do about the schools in Nelson County. I think there's a larger picture that
Sure.
needs to be settled about that. And it's not just in that particular county, but it's a fact of like how it affects the entire state and how it affects the entire industry of how it's impacted, not only just those that are working in it, but those that benefit from it and those that are surrounded by it as well. So,
yeah.
Well said.
Well said, Kenny.
It's very well said. It's going to be fascinating to watch. And outside of this, I will not be giving any other commentary on. I'll tell you that. It's not something I get too excited to talk about.
all right. Well, get your 6-foot poles around and make sure you poke it. Not too far away, but just far enough. But that'll wrap it up for tonight. So, fellas, this is a great opportunity, good topics to be able to talk about. Let's go ahead and we'll wrap it up real quick, starting with the guy that's below me over here, Blake from Sealbox. And do you even go by Bourbon anymore? Like, what's the point of putting Bourbon anymore?
Just for nostalgia's sake, who knows? Maybe. Well, it's still my Instagram, I guess. But
That's
no,
true.
fun topics. Glad to kind of get to debate some of these a little bit and hash out the fun sides of bourbon that we're we can talk about and others have to make decisions on. So it's a good episode, good number 400. I'm Blake from Sealbox and Bourboner, so thanks for having me.
But mostly Sealbox. It was a joke.
70-20.
Brian.
Doesn't add up to 100 though.
It's okay. It's kind of like his audio.
All right, Brian with Bourbon Justice, sipping corn. This is a great one. Happy to be on number 400, and I like when we all get a little agitated, and that makes it fun for me. I look forward to seeing everyone on the 27th again. That hearing at the Supreme Court is on the 22nd, so maybe we talk about that a little more, or at least look on. I rarely write any blogs anymore, but I'll write one about this one, so it'll be fun. Thanks for having me, guys.
Are you gonna be camped outside with your chair, waiting for the doors to open?
Trying to get it. I'm actually licensed at the Supreme Court, so I have like priority seating if I do end up making that quick trip. So I might do it.
Wow.
Takes a guy to know a
Can
guy.
you bring a
That's pretty
friend?
awesome.
Can you
Yeah,
fix
there you
Blake's
go.
audio when you're there?
Yes. And we all do need to go to Florida. Let's do this live from Florida, and we'll fix all of Blake's computer problems.
Done.
We'll
Set
do it from
up.
Disney.
Yeah.
All right.
I think
Live from the
Breeze
Magic
Breeze
Kingdom.
Airways flies straight to Jacksonville now from Kentucky, so we got like a $39 one way now.
Oh gosh.
Is that
Is
a
that
good airline?
official?
Is that a good airline?
Breeze.
We'll lose
Yeah,
money if we don't go.
I've flown
Has
Breeze
that
to San
started yet?
Francisco. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
All right, it's done. Let's do it.
All right,
All
There you
right,
go.
thanks, guys.
Operation Mike Rescue.
Great episode 400. Really appreciate you having us all on. Jordan from breakingbourbon.com. Looking forward to episode 401. Well, I guess not 401. Looking forward to roundtable number 79.
Perfect. Well, fellas, once again, this is a great conversation. We touched on a lot of good topics, but that's what we do every single time. So we'll see what we have cooking up for the next one on Bourbon Community Roundtable number, as Jordan said, number 79. But until then, cheers, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Cheers.
Cheers.
It sucks.
Here we go. Don't everybody talk each other at once, but we did it.
Yeah.
My God.
Brian, let's go to DC. That would be.
Wanna do it on the 22nd?
We could
Yeah.
do both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you guys
Oh,
do that,
shoot.
I'll drive
I
down
think
to
I'm
DC
gonna be
too.
I think I may be in Kentucky the 21st.
That's too much
Um,
notice.
Yeah.
No,
You should
I'm in
never tell us
Kentucky.
that much.
I'm in Kentucky the 23rd. So clear your calendars the 23rd to the 24th. But it's on the 22nd. I could go
22nd.
DC,
March or April?
DC.
March at 10 a.m. on the 22nd. So I don't know what we have. What's the cheap flight that goes into DC from here? There is one, I think, right?
Southwest
Mm,
flies.
I think you've got a
They
couple.
go to
Baltimore.
Maryland. Yeah, they go.
I think you've got
American flies there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if you
I wonder
guys are
what
both there,
time-
I'll drive on down and
Jordan,
fix Blake's
bring it
audio
down.
and drink bourbon.
I wonder if I have to go.
You
the
told me I
night
got to
before.
pack all this stuff up, and
Yeah.
although I think the
Sure, we
audio
can
is pretty
find
spot on
somebody
right now.
somewhere that has a few bottles for us.
Hey, Blake, I want to show you what dedication is. Okay, my wife is left for Orlando for a work trip, so I have to do all of this from her office in the basement, and I have to set up my mic stand like this.
The jumper cables.
This is my original Bourbon Pursuit mic. And this I don't even know where I got.
Fred's
this
running
phone,
his
but
mic off a
it's
Honda.
not the
Maybe
original
that's my
phone.
problem.
You know, I'm just
Get
saying,
that DC
man.
power run up in here.
Don't touch the red and black together.
And the Bourbon Pursuit tech budget really went downhill.
It's that
Well,
tax,
they're
man.
getting
It's killing
taxed.
me.
They're getting taxed.
Yeah, it's
Jeez.
$1,200 could get us all
Yeah.
microphones.
Oh, by the way,
Right.
on my I wish I brought this up, but they're taxing bodyguards now at the Kentucky Derby. Like there's a bodyguard tax.
Oh, yeah,
There's
yeah.
there's so many weird
It's that
taxes
service
that are-
tax, right?
This is how shenanigans
Yeah.
politics is. This whole they're taxing all these services like massages, bodyguards, this and that.
Mhm.
Like all these services
It's
are, and they're like,
ridiculous.
in return, they're cutting 0.5% off your income tax, and they're like, Andy Bashir is cutting taxes and your income, and it's like you're saving me like $20 a year, and you're taxing all the services. It's like
It's
don't
all
know.
unbelievable.
Actually,
It's all
with
politicians. Yeah, it's just
That's a
politics.
shell game.
Politics
And
then
every
if
day.
you
I
do-
really-
If you do business in Louisville, like I have to pay a tax for every time I file a story from Louisville, and
What?
so I would just
Oh, like a
drive.
city
I would
tax?
just drive
Interesting.
drive across the river to Indiana in a coffee shop and file it there.
Right. Place
Um,
your sports book bet and file
Yeah,
your story.
yeah. Those guys are- but it's like there's there's a ridiculous. If you are in the service business here, you get penalized so badly.
Hmm.
Yet if you're Humana, let us roll on the red carpet for you. No
Need
tax.
Medicare or Medicaid because we
Yeah.
pay that.
Oh,
Man,
gosh.
it's all shenanigans.
It is, man.
awful.
I'm getting
I
way
just-
too deep in this stuff. I gotta quit.
But I can't. I just. This has been. this has been on the books forever. Like it's in everybody's lifetime in the distilling industry. So everybody's gotten used to it.
Yeah.
And this is the only time that the distillers can make this move because they're so popular and they have the ears of everybody there. This is the only time they can make the move. It's it. If they can't make it now, it'll never happen. It'll never happen.
I think it will.
I hope I made that point clear. But
That came across.
I'm just glad to find out that Ryan is anti-school. At least that makes me feel a little bit better about.
He hates kids. He hates the future of America.
You
Like,
gotta
kids
remember,
are
Ryan
all
went to
teachers.
private school. Ryan went to the uppity private school, so
Yeah.
he doesn't need the public schools.
Yep.
Those poor
I
public
was
school
like,
kids.
dude, they got a new toilet at the new box.
Ryan's like,
Who
them
needs
teachers
to-
only work 8 months a year anyway. Who cares about them?
Must have been nice to have all them summers off.
Yeah.
I clearly said this doesn't go away. It needs to just be capped. Like they don't need to make any more additional money.
But who
They've been
needs
getting
3 schools?
Can you believe they bought books for the library?
Oh, man. Books.
Ryan will be hosting the Bardstown.
All they need is
book
the
burning.
somebody in the chat said, as someone with no kids, I vote for Ryan. That was funny.
Ryan went to private school like Jean Morant. That's funny.
Oh boy.
It's just the things just don't add up here. Like, okay, our population's grown 1%. Why do we need 4 new schools in the span of 10 years? Isn't that kind of weird?
It is
I don't
crazy
know.
just the way
That's sorta weird.
both
that's
sides
weird.
both sides spin it and try to make it the most like emotional, just exaggerated reason why
totally.
they have to have it.
Yeah.
And it's like this just could we just look at it a little more black and white, and like there is some nuance, but geez.
I guess I wouldn't get so frustrated if, like, Willett's got to go move to Springfield to do their distillery expansion. They couldn't do it in Bardstown because the city couldn't support them in infrastructure. There's distilleries that looked at Nelson County and they don't have the infrastructure, so they're going to Marion County and they're going to Washington County. They're going to all these other counties, and it's like,
What have
It's
they
like,
been
well, wait
doing
a
with
minute.
all of that
It's
Heaven
like-
Hill money?
it's
Yeah.
like, what you been doing with all this shit?
Yeah.
It's like, why don't you have the infrastructure set up? It's like this ad valorem tax been around forever, and
Yeah.
I don't know. That's the frustrating. I think I don't think it needs to go away. It's just it needs to be like reevaluated. That's all I said. I don't hate kids. I want them to have a great day. I want them to have the newest
Good save.
iOS.
Kenny, you got to
software.
clip that. I don't hate kids.
They don't need another iPad and their dang technologies.
This is
It's
one of the
just-
best
I
after
don't
shows.
Can you
so
believe
far.
they put a roof on that new school?
Back in my day.
I can't believe they added air conditioning.
That's why we take the summers off. We don't need it.
Yeah. Yes.
Those damn kids.
I'm gonna get a lot of emails on Friday.
You're fine.
You made a hell of a point, brother. You know.
Back into shoehorning politics into everything we do, bro. Remember that?
I gotta
old-
tell
old,
you,
review?
I really don't have an opinion on this, whether I like it one way or another. I think the closest I have is like, save some of it, but phase it out. I mean, I just kind of look at the way everyone's coming at it. Yeah, but
I guess we didn't talk about it. It was just like, it's like if we look back 10, 15 years ago, like what was the tax then? Was it $15 million? And now it's $40 million? Well, that's a jump. So to go back to what Ryan said is like, well, if you just capped it at 15 million and you figured out how do you spread the wealth or the tax between the people that pay it, well, maybe then it's okay. But the thing is like, as we keep dumping more and more and more and more barrels into it, well, it's just going to keep going up and up and up and up. So something's got to give.
yeah. Well, let's see, man. I just know that the opposition's going to say, well, these distillers pulled the tax, so now we're going to pass this new tax where we're raising your property taxes. And when they do that, if they do that, that's going to be a horrible PR moment for bourbon, because they will They will get they will pull Happy Chandler from the grave and bring his spirit toward their
that's biting the hand that feeds you in that case.
It's just so frustrating that they look to the bourbon industry for that much of their revenue, aren't good stewards with it in some cases, and then turn bourbon into bad guys. I mean, when did that happen? When did bourbon become bad guys?
Ooh, bourbon's a bad guy drink. I like it.
Ooh,
I know, right?
Yeah.
Give him the bird.
Yeah, it's strange.
I'm gonna put Desmond in some heat here because Desmond, it says put some meat in the game and get a DSP. I don't know if that's supposed to say get a DAS, but a DSP.
Get a DAS.
Guess what, Desmond? We are getting a DSP. Me and Ryan are. So we are
nice.
We are well in the trenches of
Yeah,
it
we're
right
waiting
now.
on our
Need to borrow
government.
this.
And there's a still right
There's
there.
the still right here. You can borrow it.
Hey, Desmond.
If you can get this running, you can have it.
Yeah,
Desmond, we're waiting on the government that we're giving all this tax revenue 3 months to freaking approve this damn thing.
Yeah,
it's like, how about
guess who's not going to start a DSP? This guy. I'm just going to be bitching about stuff for the next 20 years. So
I'm starting a charter school. I'm going to call it the Ryan Cecil School for
I love it.
School for kids who can't read good.
I love it.
Man, I can see it now. I'm gonna end up in the Kentucky Standard. Bardstown's favorite. Ryan Cecil.
I'm gonna make
he's not
everybody forget about my mic issues by just hammering Ryan on
yeah. There you go.
his thoughts on education.
Blake, your audio sounds great right now. Maybe
yeah,
it's just
now
what you're
it's good. Now it's good.
Oh, man.
So, Blake, are the schools going to have floors, or is this going to be dirt?
Dirt floors. It's all one classroom, just a bunch of pews like they did in the old days. Teach nothing but who was the famous capitalist economist? Oh shoot, why am I blanking on his name? He came up with
Uncle Milty.
Milton Friedman. Is that who it was?
Uncle
There we
Milty.
go. It's good. We're going to teach only Milton Friedman. Yeah.
Well, I gotta get snipped tomorrow morning. I can't wait.
Wait, what?
Wow, that was a
What?
transition.
Wait.
Yeah,
Okay.
that was a
No
transition.
wonder you're so.
Wow.
The
Are we still
NCAA
live?
tournament hasn't started.
No wonder you hate kids
Can
right
you
now.
clip that in, Kenny? Can you clip that in? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So,
It's-
so you're getting.
I'll say
Wait,
that.
wait to see his reaction. It's not that bad. It was the easiest thing ever.
You got to do it.
I've
You
heard
got to do
about-
it on the Wednesday before the first Thursday basketball game of the first.
You
first
got the
week
whole
March
weekend. You got.
I got conference tournaments this weekend, I think. So.
No, do it for the big one.
Champions Week.
Nah, you'll be fine.
Good.
You're ready. It'll be ready to go in like 18 hours.
Get my gummy stash out. Zone out.
That's why he's so on
Kenny
edge
never
right
misses
now.
a beat.
He just.
Just saying. I know my vasectomies.
Do you notice? Do you all notice how Kenny always sandwiches the pervy stuff in, but he never does it in the actual episode. It's on the outside.
outside.
You know.
That way his wife doesn't hear it.
Yeah, always every minute of it. Try to keep it clean during the middle of it, though. You know.
All right, boys.
Well, good luck with that, Cecil.
Yep. Good
I'll
luck.
keep you posted.
Yeah, bag of frozen
Tomorrow.
peas, just like I think Eric said that in the chat.
Yeah.
Anybody would like to donate $5 to Ryan's frozen bag pea fund? Just go ahead and put that one. That too.
I'll be responding to all the hate mail I get from the Bardstown City Schools with frozen peas on my balls.
It's going to be the handwritten letters from the kids that'll really drive it home.
Hey, shout out! Shout out to Tim Man.
Mr. Ryan, please don't steal our
Yes.
We really like this new iOS.
free lunches. You're talking about free lunches?
Here, take these peas, kids.
Hey guys, shout out to Tim Mann, loyal listener Tim Mann, who's in the hospital right now.
Oh,
Collapsed
God.
lung, got some lung surgery on the way, and he's loving the vasectomy talk. So thank you so much to you, Tim. Welcome to Vasectomy Pursuit.
Yes.
Yeah.
To me. Push
Dang,
through
why
it,
is
man.
Desmond such a hater?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay.
Well, sorry, what I don't know what we did to you.
You're taking away his taxes, Ryan. Taking away his
Yeah.
taxes.
Yeah,
That-
it's probably the principal of Bardstown
Yeah.
City Schools.
He's the county judge in incognito.
I still don't know if it's Desmond Hume or Desmond Home, whatever it's supposed to be. So.
It's a lost character, right? After philosopher Desmond Hume, wasn't he a lost character in?
Yeah.
Oh,
Hey,
What
hey,
kind of
Desmond.
name, I'm assuming.
He was like modeled after Jesus, right?
Yeah, something like that. And they're
Yeah.
philosopher.
And then the other guy was
Yeah, the older guy,
There you
the
go.
bald
You got-
guy.
You
Yeah,
got, you got $2 for your frozen
There you
pea fund
go.
there.
There you
Ryan.
go.
Thank you, Eric.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. That's all you got?
That's, what are you talking about? If you go to Kroger, that shit's like $1 a
I
bag.
need the
That's
Whole
two-
Foods piece.
That's
so
$2 right there.
I'm the private school kid. I need the Whole Foods piece.
You can,
Are these organic? If they're organic, I'm taking
when
it.
you're done, just donate the bag to the school. They'll put it in the soup. Or
There you
something.
go. You know, you ain't getting no great value peas over here.
Oh man.
all right, boys.
All right.
I need to call it a night.
I'm
It was a
out.
good talk.
Yeah. I'm
Yep.
out.
See y'all.
Yep.
See you
All
guys.
right. Good
Thanks,
time,
Desmond,
y'all.
for the support.
I'll miss you guys.
Good luck, Steve.